Knowledge is power. But in the case of SCP-606, too much knowledge can mean death. Welcome back to SCP Exposed. Today, we bring you Euclid class object SCP-606, also known as the Teacher. There have been requests made by Foundation personnel to raise 606's class to level Keter due to the potential threat it poses. However, this change in classification is still undergoing review. SCP-606 appears as a spherical mass of light of alternating size and intensity. Most commonly, it is approximately 85 centimeters in diameter and emits 220 candelas of luminosity, but has been observed to grow to up to 10 meters in diameter and emit over 100,000 candelas. The entity has also been observed to shrink to 4 centimeters in diameter, emitting less than 0.5 candela. Despite its ability to emit large amounts of light, SCP-606 emits no heat. It does not appear to be composed of any form of matter and is able to pass through material barriers effortlessly. Because of its ability to pass through any form of matter, researchers theorize that SCP-606 is currently contained in its chamber of its own free will. Why it remains here exactly is uncertain. When asked, SCP-606 claims that it wishes to see what may occur. What this means exactly is also uncertain. It is presently theorized that SCP-606 is an entity composed purely of knowledge or information. Furthermore, SCP-606 appears to derive sustenance from information, growing in both size and luminosity when provided with sources of information, as well as shrinking when it is deprived of information. It is capable of feeding off a large number of different sources, including digital devices, books, magnetic tape, and living beings, which simply involves SCP-606 surrounding the object. This process does not appear to affect its sources in any way. Digital media stored on flash drives are used in the maintenance of SCP-606 by the Foundation. So the specific details as well as approximate size of the information provided to the entity may be easily recorded. SCP-606 is sapient, apparently self-aware of all knowledge it has gained over its existence, and capable of intelligent communication. It accomplishes this by producing pure sine wave tones through an unknown mechanism. The Foundation has thus formulated a tone-based language system to communicate with the entity, a language which all personnel of level 2 or above assigned to SCP-606 are required to learn. Through communication with the entity, the Foundation has learned that SCP-606 appears to hold a preference for classical literature, and the given amount has been observed to keep the entity at its normal size and luminosity. Despite the vast information it presumably contains, SCP-606 refuses to divulge this information in any interviews, unless it can enlighten individuals. However, O5 Command has forbidden anyone from accepting the entity's invitation to enlightenment due to past tragedies that have taken place as a result. If another sapient individual enters SCP-606's containment cell, it will attempt to enlighten them. This involves SCP-606 moving to surround the being's head. This results in generalized tonic-clonic epileptic seizures for a period of 30 seconds to 5 minutes, after which the individual lapses into a coma, followed by death. EEG monitoring of affected individuals during this process has shown a massive increase in activity of all brainwaves, particularly gamma and beta type waves. It is presently theorized that this is the result of SCP-606 attempting to transfer all the information it has gathered to the individual's brain through an unknown process. Despite the normal human brain being unable to sustain the stress of such a procedure. It is again uncertain whether these tragedies have arisen out of an accidental action on the entity's part, or whether these deaths are actually purposeful, and leads Foundation personnel to fear if SCP-606 is actually a malevolent entity. If so, this would require an immediate change in classification of the entity to Keter, as currently the Foundation possesses no effective countermeasurement to a possible breach by SCP-606. SCP-606 is currently housed of its own will in an unfurnished 20 meter by 25 meter by 8 meter cell at Site-12, the entrance to which is sealed by two 25 centimeter steel blast doors on either side of an airlock. No personnel are to enter the entity's containment cell except under controlled testing circumstances or with authorization from a staff member of Level 4 clearance or higher. Standard positive action defenses, explosive, chemical, biological, and memetic, are to be in place at all times, according to standard operating procedure. Through use of a mobile, remotely operated device, SCP-606 is to be provided with an ordinary USB flash storage device containing no less than 2 megabytes of data every 12 hours. The data contained on the device is to be left to the discretion of SCP-606's supervisor, but text from classic literature or encyclopedias, movie clips, or audio files of historical speeches are ideal. In an emergency situation, this may be substituted with data in any form, such as print, compact discs, or videotapes. A careful record of all data provided to the entity must be kept. No material pertaining to the Foundation or other anomalous objects should be provided to SCP-606 under any circumstances, as this may be used against the Foundation in future as a form of blackmail. SCP-606 was first discovered in France in 1989. Following the sudden disappearance of 28 individuals in a small town. Once the entity was located, hidden in the basement of an abandoned cabin, personnel were able to lure the entity into a vehicle and transport it to its current holding facility at Site 12 by offering the entity D-Class members to enlighten. Results of past interviews with SCP-606 have been mixed. Although it has previously been willing to answer some basic questions about itself and its history, any more in-depth questioning on the knowledge it possesses inevitably results in a request by SCP-606 to enlighten the interviewer and a refusal to answer further questions. Requests have been made to the entity to refrain from attempting to enlighten anyone without permission. These requests have been partially complied with by the entity, as SCP-606 no longer tries to enlighten every individual it comes in contact with. But it has still sporadically tried to perform the process without prompting. For this reason, access to the entity's cell is restricted. The following recording is an interview that was conducted with the entity in June of 2019. Dr. Harold sat at a comms unit which was connected to a set of speakers in SCP-606's chamber, while the creature's replies were then recorded and translated into English. The entity also appears to understand the English language.
Can you understand me?
Yes.
How did you learn to do this?
I listen.
Could you tell us what you are?
I am the teacher.
Could you be more specific?
I am the teacher. I am a purveyor of knowledge. Enter this chamber, and I shall enlighten you.
I do not wish to do that at the moment. How do you enlighten people?
I teach them.
Are you aware that this causes your students to die?
I do not call it death. It is the consequence of being inadequate.
What do you teach?
I teach all that I have learned.
Do you know who I am?
You are that which calls itself a human. Your fellows refer to you as Doctor.
Do you know what a doctor is?
It is your word for one who has been taught and teaches, in your own fashion, at least.
Can you teach me through talking to me?
I wish to enlighten you. If you do not wish to be enlightened, I have no use for you.
At this point, SCP-606 refused to answer any more of Dr. Harold's questions and refused to communicate for several days afterwards. On the 8th of June 2019, Dr. Harold's dead body was found in his quarters. The cause of death is unknown. Personnel checked on SCP-606's security footage in the time between its interview with Dr. Harold and Dr. Harold's death, but it appears to not have moved at all during that period. An investigation into the doctor's death is currently underway and remains unsolved. So, what did you think of that SCP case? Comment your thoughts down below and be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Don't forget to click the notification bell too, so you don't miss out on any SCP stories.